for the 1138 network, South East service to Hayes via Catford Bridge.
Mr. Green with unlimited red, white and blue paint in the southeast. Now, I would describe Chris Green as the railway equivalent of Brian Clough. At least one person like that, David. By which I mean a genius that achieves success in many places. In Chris's case, in Intercity, in ScotRail, in Virgin Trains, and of course, in Network South East. So it is a great honour for me to invite Chris Green to address you this morning to explain the vision behind Network South East and the contribution made to that agenda by the humble networker train. Thank you. Your guest of honour, Chris Green.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone. I think we ought to start by congratulating the Minister for coming here to front his Rail 200 event. He's championing this across the country, and I think it's a great initiative. And I think we should thank Steve for using the network of 465 as his big story for heritage on the southeastern. I think we can all say we love his new colour scheme, very good. And his plan is to make the whole southeastern fleet this way in 3 years. I'm reliably told. Selhurst Depot once let me loose with the painters painting one of these things by hand. They only allowed me to do it for an hour because I couldn't get that red line horizontal. They kept going diagonal. It's a lot harder to paint as a livery than you might think. So why did we go for this complicated brand? And John Chimelli was on day one with me on the new brand. The brand we saw is the glue that was going to hold the new Network South East together. We had to get 14 different train companies all combined into one. It had to feel like one railway for London, and it had to feel a lot brighter and cleaner than it was. It was pretty grubby and grey in those days. So I think, John, we still make no apologies for a brash, bright image, which one journalist said as a headline, commuters must bring their sunglasses when they travel next week. And that was what we wanted. We wanted to be noticed. London Transport had achieved it with red buses and red trains all around London. We achieved it with spearmint toothpaste, which seems to work really well. Then we had to get our new trains, and at the launch at Waterloo, which is very much like today, the Minister was with us, David Mitchell in those days, another great friend of the railways. Our big announcement was that we were going to have a new fleet of trains. We were going to call them a networker. They were going to be high-tech, and we wanted 680 of them, please, government. This was the first David Mitchell knew about it, but to be fair to him, he didn't blink, and he became a great friend, and 3 years later, he came to sign the contract for those new trains in Charing Hotel, in fact, in 1989. So in those days, we were all on the same page, making it happen, and there was a bit more money around. So then we had a design panel to try and make these trains a lot more attractive, because we wanted them to to feel like a new start high-tech train, and the high-tech certainly was there. And Larry Shaw was our engineer, sadly no longer with us, but he brought the Derby research technology into it. They were lightweight aluminium trains, much lighter on the track. They had AC traction motors for the first time. They had, what have I forgotten, regenerative brakes, which is another first, and dot matrix indicators. 1986, all those were new ideas. Now it's passé, and we're looking to see where we go from there. Then we handed over to the project team, and we thought the job was done, but of course they had all the problems. And we had a brilliant project manager called Jim Vine, also no longer with us today, and his job was to get this electronic train into traffic and make it interface with all the rest of the engineering around the railway. So it was one huge team, and this is where the unified railway that the Minister wants was so right. We had loads of people who knew what they were doing, we put them in the same room, and they sorted out endless problems for about 4 years. You would think the two different fleets would couple, the rail fleet and the Metro Camel, well just, but they certainly didn't multiple, and we had blue sparks all over the place when we tried. Hopefully we've solved that today. We thought they would fit into the tunnels, no they didn't, not all of them, and a lot of tunnels have lost a lot of their bricks since the network arrived. Track circuits had to be changed and power supplies had to be upgraded. But all that was done by one unified network team, and I do commend that for anything we're doing in the future. So, today is all about legacy. The first of these network of trains went into service at Cannon Street in 1992. Jeff Lee is here somewhere, who was our Mr. Kent at that time. He got it into service. And here we are 33 years later, starting to talk about the fleet being completely withdrawn. There's still about 100 units running around still at the moment, but they're not going to last much longer. And Sophie is going to tell us in a moment what she wants next. And here she is with the Minister just wanting to know how many coaches she needs. So we can replay history here. This unit is going to go on a lap of honour around the Kent in the suburban railway over the next few months to remind us of our heritage and celebrate Railway 200. And there's a little bit more legacy looking to a longer term future. There's a new organisation setting up called Friends of Network South East, which Julie Miller, who I've seen around, could you wave a hand Julie? Julie's setting this up for us. So this is outside supporters for Network South East. Do talk to her afterwards if you want to know more. And Neil Bird, are you here, Neil? There's Neil over there. So Neil bought a 4-sig from Brighton some years ago, and he's restoring it into working order, and it will be a Network South East livery as well. So those are two people who are helping our legacy to keep going. In the meantime, that's enough for me, and just another big thanks to the Minister and to Steve White for making all this happen, and very best of luck to you all on the South Eastern. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. You've just heard how the network has really transformed train travel for our customers. They replaced the slam door stop with something safer, more modern and more comfortable. But in 1992, the most popular car in England was the Ford Escort or the Vauxhall Cavalier. We'll do a quick check by a show of hands. Who's still driving a Ford Escort or a Vauxhall Cavalier? The South East Alliance wants to boldly go where many train operators have already gone. We'd like a high-performing train for a high-performing railway. So it's my pleasure to invite Sophie Barker, our Head of Major Programmes, to share with you a little of what we would like to give our customers in the next era of train travel on the South East Alliance. Sophie Barker.
Hi everybody, it's lovely to see you all today for this special occasion. My name's Sophie and I look after the Major Programmes team at South Eastern. And our job is to oversee some of the largest projects and improvements that we have going on across the business and across the network. And it's a pretty fun job because you get to see the impact that investment in the railway has directly on the people who use it. And it's also a pretty busy job because we have a lot going on. At the moment we have just started work on our Class 376 refresh. We announced a few weeks ago we are planning to fit toilets to our Class 707 fleet, but I would say probably the most exciting project that we have going on is the potential replacement of our Metro rolling stock. So Steve just used the analogy there of the Ford Escort. I actually have my own analogy for the network of fleet, which is actually that I was born the same year that they came into service. So that probably makes me a little bit young in railway terms, but what I will say is since I've been in my mid-30s, I've had to get reading glasses for my eyes. My back pretty much aches every morning now, and I'm really out of touch with modern music. So I feel like I'm definitely getting a bit older, and therefore so are the trains. And we know that maybe a more modern train can offer a better and more reliable travelling experience for those that want to use it. So what have we been doing in South Eastern? Well, for a number of months we've been working on a procurement and a business case process, looking at options for the South East Metro fleet that serves North Kent and South London. Accessibility is a really key focus for us, and we want to create a railway that is more inclusive for everybody in the future. And while that isn't always easy in infrastructure that was built during Victorian times, we've asked manufacturers as part of our specification to look at options to improve unassisted boarding when getting on or off the train. We've also looked at other features to future-proof the fleet, such as air conditioning, which is going to become increasingly relevant in a future where temperatures are potentially set to rise. We'd like the inside of the train to be a bright, clean and open space so that people feel safe when travelling, and we also want to make sure that they have good access to onboard information about their journey and access to plug sockets and charge points, which are rapidly becoming the norm for those modern travellers. We want to make sure that we make the best use of advancements in technology to make sure that the trains run as energy efficient as possible and are environmentally sustainable. Finally, as we look to the future under Great British Railways and the better working between track and train, we've also worked with colleagues in Network Rail to help identify some other features we'd like to include. So for example, infrastructure monitoring, which will use the train to monitor the track and the environment that it's running in to feed data that can be analysed to spot faults and improve reliability. And we're also looking at including a small traction battery in the train that would allow the train to power itself to the next station and allow customers to disembark in the event that there was a problem with the power to the track. So say, for example, a trespasser or a frozen conductor belt. So where do we go from here? I should caveat heavily, especially with the Minister present, that nothing is concluded yet. Our procurement process concludes later this year, and we need to write a business case to the Department for Transport and to the Treasury that sets out what the best option is and makes sure that we've found the right answer for our railway, our customers and also the taxpayer. But there's plenty of exciting things to come, so watch this space. So thanks for joining us today, and I'll hand back now to Steve.
Thank you, Sophie. I hope you can all agree that the train looks fabulous, but just for the sake of clarity, we still want new trains. Particularly for autumn performance, I'm looking at Alex. When the Garden of England sheds its leaves every autumn, this train can't quite do what a modern train can do. Before concluding, I'd like to offer some thanks. Days like today don't just happen. It's a seismic effort by people across the railway industry. So let's just thank some individuals. For the record, I bought this tie myself. It was on eBay for £25. It's 100% polyester, and it all came out of my own money. The repaint, on the other hand, is a gift from Angel Trains, from David Jordan, and from Malcolm Brown. So can we give a big thank you, please, to our principal sponsors today. A massive thank you to Steve Riley and Matt Lewis of Angel, who helped ensure this train was just so. To Neil and Sarah from Creative, who took the original drawings of the iconic NSC livery and created a PRM compliant version for 2025. I'd also like to thank the Wabtec team. They are consulting at the moment on the future of the Doncaster Works. That's a sad day for many people in the rail industry. That this will potentially be one of the last ever trains painted at that famous works, and they've done a tremendous job. It's a tribute to their workmanship, the quality of the paintwork you see behind you. Round of applause, please, to those. South Eastern team have been busy. I'd like to thank my namesake. There are actually 5 Steve Whites in South Eastern, but Steve White Engineering is the man that contracted this. In the engineering department, I can see Ross Balcombe and Dave Holland, and a big thank you to the teams at Slade Green and Gillingham. And to Ben Foster. Ben Foster found some dusty drawings in the corner of his office back last spring, and he's been instrumental in getting to the point that we are here today. Big I can see you. Ben doesn't even work on the Metro fleet. Tomorrow he'll get back to his duties on the mainline service. Big thank you to John Till for his magic with the CIS screeners today. And a big thank you to our comms and marketing department, and particularly to Andy Commons, who has choreographed today's event. There's one group of people who aren't here today. I did invite them. They said they just weren't up for it. That was MI5. I said to MI5, we need to make this a covert operation. I want total secrecy. I want an absolute blackout. I want no one to know that we are painting this train, and no one to know it's going to be here on the 25th of February. MI5 said, we can't do that. We do not have the capability to keep this away from the train enthusiast community. You'll need to find somebody else. So they are conspicuous by their absence. When you see this train going around our network, we hope it will be a wonderful reminder of the Network South East era, of the legacy of Chris Green, of driving up service quality and driving up patronage. It went into service in 1992, the year that we introduced organising for quality. We put truck and train back together, and we devolved the large British Rail engineering functions into the business sector. So we're nearly ready, but the train needs a name. Now, naming a train is a one-person job, but this is a railway, so we're going to use 2 people. I'd like to invite Lord Hendy to come this side and do the honours with the curtain, and I'd love Chris to stand on the other side and watch as we reveal the name. Cameras at the ready. Let's name this train. Gentleman there on the back row who's standing there with a defibrillator. He can stand down now. And we're delighted that this train will carry your name. I'd like to thank all of our speakers today, Lord Hendy, Chris Green and Sophie Barker. Some of you will have heard of the Greatest Gathering. It sounds like a Take That reunion. The Greatest Gathering. It's going to be a 3-day extravaganza in August, and this train is going to be there. That event takes place at the city of my birth. It takes place in the home, the future home of Great British Railways. It takes place in a city with an extremely average football team. And it takes place in the famous Derby Carriage Works. So I look forward to more of you seeing this train at the Greatest Gathering. As Chris says, we're going to use this train for charity rail tours. We're going to use it for regular passenger service. It's going to be at the Ashford Depot Open Day in August, and it's going to be around next year when we celebrate 40 years of Network South East. There's no excuse for not having a bit of cake and a party on South Eastern. Looking forward now to wrap up today's event. Our wonderful Tracks Choir are going to entertain us. This train is going to head back to the depot at 12:27. A guided tour of Gillingham sidings is not part of the itinerary, so please leave in advance of that time. There's going to be plenty of time now for you to all take your photos, but I should remind you, selfies are £1 each. We need to drive our subsidy down to £1 per selfie. Before you leave today, make sure you get a goodie bag. There's going to be tea and coffee available on the platform to my right, and we're going to invite you to step on board and do a bit of networking on a networker. So thank you for being a part of today. Thank you for making today special. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Alive, we live for moments like this. We come alive,